It's Friday the 20 whatever it is. It's about 5 p.m. and this doesn't look like Ameristar, so it could only mean one thing, and that's we're out. Just kidding. We didn't play today. We woke up early around 9 a.m. and the plan was to play 100%, and then just didn't feel like going in, so I didn't end up going in. Just having a little smoothie in a fancy glass because everything else is in the dishwasher. The reason I didn't end up going today, even though I woke up early enough, was I made 3 rules over the years playing poker, and those 3 rules are: never play when you're hungry, never play when you're thirsty, and never play if you don't feel like playing. So if I'm ever at the table and I feel like thirsty, I'll do my very best to get a sip of water before I play the next hand. Same thing if I'm hungry, and if I'm at home and if I have planned to go play and I don't feel like playing, I don't go play. Just some rules I came up with for myself over the years, and I think it's necessary for you to come up with rules that will help you become better. If not, you'll just be stuck in the same cycle. I also have rules that I follow at the poker table. I'm not going to share those right now just because it's probably not fair to other people that I coach. But today's plan is just hang out, and then probably going to post some strategy videos for short deck and maybe some no limit hold'em. The first thing to know about short deck obviously is that 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s are removed. So you're playing with a shorter deck, which makes it more of a gambly game, closer to PLO really, and flushes are ranked higher than full house, and the blind structure is that everybody posts an ante, and the button posts 2 times the ante, and there's no small blind, big blind, but the action still begins pre-flop and post-flop from the left of the button. Another important concept is getting in money in pre-flop in hold'em. If you have pocket 10s versus ace king, obviously you want the pair because you're gonna have 2 to 3% extra equity. But in short deck, ace king versus a pair, ace king is ahead, but someone like ace queen will probably be slightly behind the pocket pair. So in this scenario, if you have ace king in short deck, there's no reason not to get your money in. In hold'em, obviously people get in money in with ace king also, but in sometimes there are reasons you can fold ace king. But in short deck, if you see ace king, you get it in, you're probably going to be in good shape. Pre-flop equity with suited connectors is also pretty good in short deck. In no limit hold'em, 8-9 suited versus 2 kings, you're looking at you're a 22% underdog, but in short deck you're only a 40% underdog. So if the blinds are in no limit hold'em 500 and 1,000 with $1,000 big blind ante, and you open to 2,500, and let's say a player behind you shoves for 20,000, you're gonna have to call 17,500 to win 25,000. So you're gonna need to be about 37% there to win. I can go over that math on some other video, but anyway, so in no limit hold'em you're gonna need 37% equity, and against a hand like kings you're never gonna call 8-9 suited. But in short deck, even if your opponent turns their hand over, you're gonna have reason to call them there. Jack 10 suited is a very powerful hand in short deck. If you look at it in no limit hold'em, Jack 10 suited is 39% to 61% in no limit hold'em, and then in short deck it's almost a coin flip. So if you have Jack 10 suited, you definitely want to see a flop 100% of the time, and if you have to get your money in pre-flop, there's nothing wrong with that either. So the last thing I want to cover is, or actually the last 2 things, this is probably, I think, a very important thing to learn is calculating what your percentage is. We know that in Hold'em, there's sort of a rule that you take your number of outs, and if you're getting in your money in on the flop, then you multiply it by 4, and if you're getting your money in on the turn, you multiply it by 2. So, for example, in No Limit Hold'em, if you're the person with the flush draw, you count your outs, which will be 13 minus 5 will give you 8 flush draws, or 8 cards. I'll give you a flush on the turn or the river, and 8 times 4 is 32, which is pretty close to where your equity is on the turn. Now let's take a similar scenario in short stack. Over here, it's same hand, same board, and your equity on the flop is 33%, which is pretty close, but a little better. Now you would assume that your equity here should be less, because remember, we can't hit the 2, 3, 4, or 5 of diamonds because it's not in the deck. But the reason we're still 33% is because, number one, the deck is smaller, right? So even though you have less outs, you're going through a smaller deck. And the other reason is, in short deck, you always have a shot at hitting a straight. So over here, you know, your backdoor straights are more likely to come than in Hold'em. Now the question is, how do I calculate what my percentage is? We can't use the 2-4 rule here, because imagine how many diamonds we have. We can only hit 4 diamonds here. We can only hit the ace of diamonds, the jack of diamonds, the 8 of diamonds, and the 6 of diamonds. So if we take that logic, 4 times 4 is 16, which is very far away from 33. So I think the way to do it is you do your outs, 4, and you multiply it by 7, which will give you 28. Now in this case, we have to know that we have some backdoor straight out, so we have to give ourselves a few more percentage, which will get us to close to our actual equity. To another example, over here, let's say we have the person with a set up against a straight. So in No Limit Hold'em, we will say, well, we have 3 6s, 3 8s, and 1 10, right? And that would give us 7 outs. And we multiply that by 4, that'd be 28, which again is not very close to our equity, but we gotta remember that whatever card comes on the turn will give us more outs. So let's say that on the turn we give an inconsequential ace diamonds. So now we have 3 aces, 3 8s, 3 6s, and 1 10, which is 10 outs. 10 times 2 is 20. Right, so the 2-4 rule still works here for No Limit Hold'em. Short deck, take the same exact hand on the flop, and this is where the big difference is. The set of 10s are favored against flop straight. And so again, we take our number of outs, which is 3 8s, 3 6s, and 1 10. That's 7. 7 times 7, I believe, is 42 or 49, sorry. Yeah, 7 times 10 is 49, pretty close to where I need to be. And then on the turn, the way you do it is, instead of multiplying by 7, you do it 3.5. So for No Limit Hold'em, we do the 4-2 rule. In short deck, we'll do the 7 and a 3.5. So on the turn, we have 3 aces, 3 8s, 3 6s, and a 10. That's 10. 10 times 3.5, pretty much on point. Alright, so the last concept I want to cover, and this will require some practice. So I know a lot of people that kind of learn when to shove their hand in No Limit Hold'em. You look at big blinds. I tend to
use the concept of M. Maybe some of you are aware of that. It makes life much easier when you're trying to decide if you want to shove pre-flop or not. So let's look at a hand in no limit hold'em, and I'll show you how using M makes more sense in short deck. Let's say we're playing 500 and 1,000 with 1,000 big blind ante in no limit hold'em. I'm playing 7-handed, and under the gun you have ace jack off. Now if you have 13,000, you have 13 big blinds or an M of 5. It's a very obvious and easy shove from under the gun, even with ace jack. However, if you have 23,000, you're never going to shove 23 big blinds or an M of 10. You're either going to raise or fold. However, let's look at the same scenario in short deck. Let's say the ante is 500, so 6 people are going to put in 500, 3,000, and the bun's going to put in 1,000. At this point the pot is 4,000. But in this case, if you have 23,000 under the gun, 7-handed, you are supposed to shove ace jack off there. And the reason is because your M is about 6, which is fine. 7 or 8 M, you can, might be a too spewy of a shove. And the way you calculate an M is you take your stack and you divide it by whatever's in the pot pre-flop. So it's a little confusing concept, but you want to know when to shove in short deck pre-flop and when is it okay to limp, because remember, you're going to be limping a lot in short deck.
So as we saw in short deck, your equities would run a lot closer. That doesn't necessarily mean you want to get your money in with marginal hands. It just means that you want to pick your spot better, sort of like in PLO. And there's going to be a lot of limping, so and there should be. So if you see in like pocket tens, ace jack, it is okay to just put in that extra ante and see a flop. You don't want to be raising a hand like 9s and 10s just because other people are going to have a lot more equity going to the flop, and it's much harder to get people to fold. Last suggestion would be to check out some Triton Poker on YouTube. They've done a lot of short deck events, so that's a good way to learn. We'll be back tomorrow for the 350 monster stack, firing the second, hopefully not a third bullet.